Good afternoon, all. Camelback Trading 2724 coming to you this Friday afternoon, January 3rd. And we're looking at the market profile of the SPY ETF. And on a day where it looked like early this morning, pre-market, and even when we opened, that the bears would have a chance to do some real damage. Yes, we do close down on the day, but basically turn into a very unorthodox P shape. And believe it or not, the SPY, not the ES, but the SPY actually had two sets of single prints at one point. Very small, and they got filled, but we did have them at one point. As we gapped lower and just drove straight up into yesterday's range. Stopped a bit at yesterday's POC, tried to go higher a couple of times, and then flushed out later in the day. We end up 9 wide. I took 3 trades on the day, all from the short side. I showed some patience today. All 3 worked out. The first one I took, it did nothing in A period. Open and drove straight up. Wasn't going to get long because we had a gap and lower value, total lower value at the time. It wasn't going to get long, short either, because the way it drove up, I wanted to see if it didn't fill the gap and came back down, I would have gotten on board, but it didn't. Once B period opened, B open, couldn't take out A. I took my first trade of the day, short trade. Took it back down. That was a nice one. My second trade was in C period. Even though we took out A and B's high, we didn't get much of a pop to it. We got right to POC. Did not expect a trend day at that time. Took a short trade, came in, worked out. And then again, I did one in G period. Took one in G when we made a new high. We had 2 very small singles that was sitting there. I did not think they were going to stay. I did not take a big position and rode that one back down as well. 3 trades on the day, and luckily, all 3 winners. A lot less stressful than yesterday, that's for sure. So, destinations on the upside. There's only 4 on the upside, believe it or not. 322.79, which is 9 wide from today. 323.64, which is today's high. 324.89, which is yesterday's high. It's a monthly high, an all-time high. And then 325.25, which is our overnight all-time high. For the downside, we had an afternoon pullback low for the second day in a row, right? Today's was wiped out when we gapped lower, but I period, both times an I. 322.32. Then we have today's low of 321.10. And the weekly low now of 320.15. So your destinations are a little far and wide, again, on the downside. The question is now, with the so-called Santa Claus rally over, and most traders will have full desks, well, if they're still using desks next week, what does that mean? Now, let's go over the charts. I just want to show you something where they could have done some pretty good damage here, the bears, but really did not. So once again, the monthly is one time framing up for 2 months, and the gap is still holding, so the monthly is still very healthy. The weekly. Yesterday, we had a chance for an outside week up. This morning, it looked like we might have a chance for an outside week down. Believe it or not, even later in the afternoon, it looked like we could possibly get an outside week up again. We end up with neither. We're in balance, right? A 2-week balance now, where this week's high and low is basically your balance. So just over almost a $5 range. But the outside week up and down both failed. And then the daily looked like we had a chance. Well, we did not a chance. We did gap low. We had an island top for about less than 10 minutes, I think, by the time we ripped up and closed the gap. So now I'm going to encompass these last 5 days as my balance. So that would be my weekly, my daily balance, where the high is the all-time high of 324.89 and the weekly low of 320.15. So the 5-day balance is this past week, basically. We're going to see next week. Do we get a chance to get to the top of this balance and extend it to new highs, or do sellers come down, take it out, and finally get into that 3-day balance and go for the other daily gap and the weekly gap that's still in play. Remember, monthly gap still holding, weekly gap holding, and we don't have any daily gaps right here, but there are still some below. So longest time I can remember all 3 time frames having gaps holding at the same time. We'll see though. We're in balance now, right? Weekly and daily, we're both in balance. The monthly, the longer term, is the only one that's up right now. So if the sell's ever gonna try to appear and do something, we'll see if they can do it next week. I hope you had a great day in week trading. Have a great weekend, and we'll speak prior to the opening on Monday.